Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of In Depth with Academia. I'm your host, Richard Price, founder and CEO of Academia EDU. And today I've got something really fascinating to share with you, something that turns the history of calendars and ancient Chinese philosophy on its head, or maybe sideways. I'm not here to judge, just to present, totally neutrally, as always. So, yeah. Let's jump right in because today we're talking about a paper by Annie Wang titled From Gua to Gua, the possible origin of the 64 hexagrams as a prototype of the wall calendar. Alright, so the big core question that Annie's paper tackles is this. Were the famous 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, these are those stacks of lines you see in really old Chinese texts, were those not just symbols for divination, for like fortune telling, but also possibly the world's earliest version of a wall calendar? Let that sink in for a second. What if, instead of pulling out your phone to look at the date, you were consulting hexagrams on your living room wall? Wild, right? So Annie Wang goes all in on this idea. She actually starts out with a pretty delightful story. It was her aunt, while teaching her the I Ching, who offhandedly wondered out loud if these so-called gua, the hexagrams, might have once served as a kind of calendar, tracking time, seasons and direction all at once. This paper tries to construct a case for that, approaching it from four angles: philology, astronomy, the needs of agricultural societies, and the structural logic inside the hexagrams themselves. Now, let me pause here. I'm just presenting this neutrally. It's not me saying this is the absolute answer or that every scholar would agree. Academia is an evolving conversation back to the paper. Annie starts by diving into the philology, the study of words and their history. There's a neat curiosity here. The Chinese character for hexagram, gua, gua, sounds exactly like to hang, gua, gua. There are ancient quotes from scholars saying to speak of gua is to speak of hanging, like literally hanging images on the wall. There's also a whole bit about how the character is connected to tools for measuring shadows, which, get this, were used to mark time and direction. So right in the word gua, you've got hints of both hanging and timekeeping. Pretty clever, huh? But Annie doesn't stop at wordplay. The agricultural angle comes next. She points out that in ancient agrarian societies, time was everything. Knowing when to plant, when to harvest, when to make sacrifices or wage war, it's all intertwined with survival. So calendars aren't just for, like, reminding you of dentist appointments. They're the backbone of civilization. And the I Ching, with its obsession with timing, might have fit right into this structure, not just as a text for divination, but as a practical manual for navigating the year. The astronomy aspect is equally cool. The ancients used a pole and a ruler, technologically primitive but pretty sophisticated in its application, to measure the sun's shadow. That told them the solstices, equinoxes, the directions, all from watching shadows. The changing lengths of shadows fed right into their philosophy of yin and yang, the idea that the universe is always in a state of change, with cycles of dark and light, expansion and contraction. Isn't it funny how the simplest things, watching a shadow, could give rise to entire systems of thought? Huh. I wonder how many other philosophical breakthroughs started with somebody looking at something really mundane. Like, do you think Newton would have done calculus if apples were less interesting? But, okay, getting back, Annie also dives deep into the math and layout of the hexagrams. She maps each layer, Taiji, the two forms, 4 images, 8 trigrams, all the way down to the 64 hexagrams onto temporal and spatial frameworks. So instead of thinking, what's my fortune? You might be thinking, what phase or season am I in? Which direction am I facing? It's all about knowing your moment in the cycle, your place in the whole swirl of things. And here's the kicker. She draws on historical evidence from later Chinese thinkers, especially during the Han Dynasty, who literally tried to plug the 64 hexagrams into the calendar year, matching hexagrams to months, seasonal nodes, even days. So, while the proof isn't ironclad, there's clearly some ancient precedent for thinking about hexagrams not just as mystical symbols, but as a practical mapping of time. For listeners like you, what does this mean? Well, I guess it's a reminder that complex knowledge systems, like calendars, weather patterns, or even personality tests, often have deeper roots and multiple interpretations. What looks like magic or mysticism might once have been solid, scientific, or at least practical advice. And of course, academic research is always about exploring possibilities, not dishing out final, eternal truths. So if this theory gives you a new way to think about the I Ching, or hey, about the meaning of calendars, it's done its job. So, thanks for listening. Remember, I'm just here to neutrally lay out these academic arguments, not to tell you what's right or wrong. And if you want more mind-bending interpretations from across the academic world, don't forget to subscribe to In Depth with Academia. Until next time, keep asking questions and don't just check your phone. Maybe hang a hexagram chart on your wall. Just kidding, or am I? See you next time.